Welcome to Badly Written Boy, a reciting of my teenage years and my 20s, now as a 40-something. How do I remember all these things? I wrote it all down in a diary. Badly. Enduring with me on this retrospective, cringeworthy experience is my wife, who has never read my diaries. Okay, welcome to another episode of Badly Written Boy. Today we've got another guest speaker.
Not just a guest speaker, the biggest fan of the show.
Yeah, we do name drop you at the end of every episode.
I've recently noticed that.
It took me about 14 episodes to notice it as well, so you're not the only one.
You feature quite prominently in the diaries, right the way throughout uni. But I only started writing these. There was a gap in the number of years I was writing, and I think it was maybe the second or last year I started writing again. So I think we had a discussion, didn't we, about any outstanding stories that you can remember from probably some of those early years that you care to bring back up again.
Yeah, I lived in the room next to Earnshaw Hall in Sheffield for our first year when we were in Hall's residence, and then we shared a house following that. On the other side of your room was Chris, who we also shared a house with in the following couple of years.
That's right.
I think opposite my room there was Martin, who we shared a house with for 1 year after Hall's. And I think next to me there was a lad. I'm sure he was called Raj.
I remember Raj had a guitar and he would reel that out every now and then, and I seem to remember thinking that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he had a guitar, and I think Rob Mill, he was teaching him bits and pieces. So yeah, he was picking up a lot faster than I was, because I think when I started I had a little electric guitar as well, but I had zero talent to actually play the thing. So it just kind of sat there as a bit of a prop in the corner of my room. A few guitars like that rocking around in our corridor. I think there was a guy called Dan, wasn't there?
Yeah,
he was a Mancunian lad.
He was a Manc.
Yeah.
Those damn Mancs.
Excuse me.
And even worse than that, there was a lad called George, wasn't there? He was from Bolton. And he was a really tall lad, stoned all the time, and but he was doing like geography or history or something. And he was always just off his face, but really good footballer. He played for the university first team or something within weeks of joining in the first year.
Really I remember playing with him a few times, and from memory, I couldn't even get the ball off him. He was, I think he was more defensive, wasn't he? But he was a bit of a gun.
Centre back. Rob, of course, that we lived with for another year. Then there was that guy Tom, who's at the end of the corridor from where we were.
I thought Tom was the one that had spent all of his money on weed in the first year, and then he disappeared as well.
Yeah, I think so. He might have gone to prison, to be honest. He had at one point he had an entire like a pillow-sized bag full of weed, and he couldn't lock the door in his room. So he turned up at my door on the corridor saying, "Can you look after this for me for the day?" Just because I can't lock my room. And I was like, "Get the hell out of my face! No chance."
Yeah,
you can't.
That's pretty loose. 9
sense of the law and all that. There's zero chance of taking possession of this thing.
Well, I think we did get lucky, with who we kind of set up with in the second year. And in retrospect, really, Martin and Rob were great anyway, because do you remember who we then ended up with in the subsequent years?
Yeah, there was that Philippe, the French lad. But he must have been a couple of years older than us. He was proper bald, wasn't he, when he was living with us? But he had this really deep bass voice, didn't he? He would go to these choir practices and do his choir stuff. He had a really deep operatic voice,
and he would sing during Neighbours every single day.
Bastard.
Well, he was there in the third year, wasn't he?
It was the third year, yeah. And there was another lad. I think he was called Alex. But
he was, very quiet.
Apart from saying hello to him when he first arrived at the house, and bye-bye to him when I finally left, I don't think I had a conversation with the kid.
The only thing I can remember about him was that he worked at Alton Towers.
Oh, right.
and
No,
that was
not.
about as much conversation as I got out of him.
No, yeah, it was just very, very, very quiet. Even when we had a party, he like immersed me in his room for like about 5 minutes um with a WKD or something, and then disappeared again.
And so then, just out of interest, what did you do with yourself the kind of year or two after we finished the third year?
I moved into a house with some people I knew through hockey. Hockey is probably the best or worst thing that happened to me at university, because I managed to fail my degree quite spectacularly because of it. But I think I was probably heading in that direction anyway. In my what would have been my fourth year in Sheffield, but it was my second year of the degree I was currently doing, because I had to for shame, I had to leave Sheffield University and join Hallam, which sent me down a peg or two in society. Yeah, I managed to keep in with the university hockey crowd that I'd met during my second and third year, and yeah, there was a room vacancy opened up, so I moved in. I had to do 2 trips home back to Chester with a car full of stuff twice, just to try and empty my room, because of like 3 years worth of crap that I just moved around Sheffield, and then had to get rid of it all and clean the room out.
It's funny now that you
Whole day
actually got rid of your crap,
driving around.
Matt, because Mark never got rid of his crap and moved it from Sheffield to Leeds to Manchester to Australia, then back to Manchester, and then back to Australia again.
Very
So
good.
it's funny that, isn't it? How like it's a normal thing to do to get rid of stuff, especially crap.
There was a lot of crap. Yeah,
I'm not
I think
saying I got rid of all of it, but I think some of it's still hanging around. Like, oh yes, that'll be useful.
At least you got rid of some of it, Matt. I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
Mark. So when we moved back to Australia the last time, Mark was pulling all of the boxes out of the loft that had been stored in our loft for 3 years, but had been like in his mum's loft for 8 years. And he pulled out this box of CDs and he was like, right, I'm going to go through all these and see what I can keep. And I said, great, we can just put them into CD wallets, can't we? And he's like, oh, no, these aren't CDs. These are just the CD cases. So he'd stored a giant box worth of CD cases for 12 years and still wasn't considering just throwing the lot out. He still had to go through and just check there was nothing in there that he wanted to keep.
Yeah, sounds
This is
about right.
the level of hoarding that I have to deal with.
yeah, it's pretty bad.
I think I've got a couple. I've got a couple of empty CD boxes here. I've got one of the first things I ever bought was a Meatloaf album on CD, and the actual CD itself is long gone because it was in a CD wallet in a car that got pinched. But the actual CD box, I can't bring myself to throw it away, so it's still there on the shelf.
But why?
I don't know. Nostalgia. There we go. Even though I don't think I even have anything I could play a CD on these days.
We used to have some kind of older cars that only had a CD player in them.
CD player. You can't say that in front of me without me singing.
Every time. So yeah, I used to get some value back out of them, but I think I have chucked a fair few of them away now. Probably held on to things too long. I tell you what, the strangest thing I've kept a hold of is, do you remember the Blockbuster video down on Ecclesall Road?
I do, yes.
I've still got the card for that.
Wow. That's good going.
I've still got my U card as well.
Oh, I had mine taken off me. I tried to get into Pop-Tarts one too many times when it was expired, and eventually a bouncer got hold of it and was like, nope, this is property of Sheffield University and no longer yours. So
It's the
asshole.
absolute height of crime that in Sheffield, yeah.
Yeah, I know. It was still allowed in, but it just wasn't. Just that the confiscated the U card. That was it.
Yeah.
Gone.
Right up there with that time we got stopped by the police because you were carrying a traffic cone.
Yeah. A traffic cone that then ended up in our garden anyway, about a week later.
They took my name as well because I'm an accomplice.
You should have legged it and see if they chased you.
The one police note about me is walking along with somebody else carrying a traffic cone. That's my record in the UK.
Known to the police.
All right, shall we crack on with some diary action?
I don't think we've explained that Matt is not sat in Australia with us right now. It might be obvious from the sound quality of this episode, but
Yes.
Matt is sat. Where are you? Cheshire?
God no, that's Cheshire is a nice posh place. I'm in Chorley.
Chorley,
yeah,
that's it. I knew it was a Ch.
Just south of Preston.
Tell me about your surroundings, Matt. Where are you?
I am sitting in the office at the top of my house. I've got a view out on a new build housing estate, very featureless, with rain drizzling down the window pane. It's a very, very cold Sunday morning, and there's a storm coming.
You make it sound so inviting. We
Yeah,
are sat
just so
in our beach house, and it's 27 degrees outside, or it was earlier on today. We've been for a nice walk. We've been on water slides. It's been marvelous.
Very good. But my Sunday's just beginning, whereas yours is just coming to a close.
Friday, the 1st of October. Oh, so yeah, the big news recently, Pop My Cherry.
Oh, that was like,
Well done.
I'm still so upset about that. That was the most anticlimactic entry. I didn't even realize that you'd had sex until you said to me that was it. After everything you've been through in these diaries.
It was understated.
We don't know if there was a climax. It didn't tell us.
Very, very true, Matt. Very true. Does it count as sex for boys if they don't climax?
Yes, it does.
Okay. You're going to count it anyway. All right. Well, hopefully you'll be slightly more descriptive, because you write descriptive, wanky sentences about literally nothing.
Yeah.
And then you have what, is probably the greatest experience of your 21-year-old life. And we got nothing.
Nothing at all?
No.
Well, should we venture forth? See if there's anything more descriptive?
Yeah, let's see.
Today was really important for me. I got to see Dr. Burke again. I'd filled in the day with Pappy house chores and was happy to get out. I got the train into the city where his office was based. I found it with relative ease and plonked myself down. It probably wasn't the same.
Look at this description about how you got into the city.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Very much.
I'm sure Matt's into it. But there was something about the varnished wooden storage units. Okay, it's getting pretty boring. And aged secretaries, quite nostalgic. Nostalgic? Do you really describe secretaries as nostalgic?
Apparently.
They were chatty enough, and after a delayed wait, Dr. Burke came out and greeted me. He's a small man. I remembered him fairly well. The only physical difference was less hair. He used to have this wacky-looking tuft to either side. Not anymore. He recalled the past and knew who I was well. As he reeled through some of my medical history, the air of familiarity came out, both my history and of his earnest, wise tone. Sounds like Yoda. I was glad of this chance to have re-met him, that there may have been a build-up in my kidney, possibly causing stones, so he'll need an ultrasound. This will be early next week, so I'll go back to see him on Friday.
I'm so glad you did such heavy descriptions there. It was needed.
Yeah.
Maybe we should try and think about that in the future. On the way back from there, Dad dropped by an electronics store for a new microwave. I bet that's a microwave that he's still got now.
Could be.
He cooks all of his chicken in the microwave and it traumatizes me. The old one popped, according to him.
I probably broke it.
Probably. You probably tried to cook something with some flavor and the microwave was just like, oh my God, flavor, I can't go. Matt, for your information, Mark's dad eats 3 meals. All of them have boiled rice. All of them have a microwaved meat of choice. And all of them have microwaved frozen vegetables.
Yeah, I'm getting the idea from reading some of this that he's not Raymond Blanc or some 5-star Michelin chef.
I saw this ad in the paper for a position at a news agency around the corner. I rang them and wrote out my resume to drop off there. Do you need a resume for a news agent? Hello, sir. I'm calling to apply for the position of news person.
Rock up in like a tie and a suit and stuff.
Kindest regards. Very experienced Mark Jackson resume. You've even put the little accent over the E. It's the wrong E. Tried. Dad's boring me with obvious advice on what to sort out for tomorrow, and what's with the persistent snapping of the fingers, attention seeking, poor rhythm. Why? Can you remember that?
if things weren't moving along, he used to click his fingers quite a lot.
Oh, that's infuriating.
Yeah, it was one of his habits.
I couldn't cope with that. One of the very first time I met one of our friends' wives, she didn't speak at all during the dinner, apart from to like snap her fingers and point at her drink when it was empty, so that he would refill it for her.
Wow.
It was full on. I love how you like suggested that your dad might have poor rhythm, as if he's like trying to snap out like
Bust attitude.
he's kind of like click out some boo play and shaking his head like that's
that would have been gold.
All right, Sunday. Oh, I'm wrecked after today. I went on a 19-kilometer bushwalk around Binnabora. It was too long. I enjoyed some of the scenery and meeting some of the other walkers, but a combination of things put me off. It was too long and there weren't enough stops for recharging. The wildlife causes me paranoia, so many ants, and the ticks, they want my blood. I'm glad I spotted mine when I did, otherwise that tick wouldn't have come off so easily. Oh my God, did you have a tick on you?
I did get a tick, yeah.
That's like my worst Australian fear, more than anything.
Yeah, you just put some deodorant on it and it falls off.
Yeah, but then it's on you.
Yeah.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I got splinters, blisters, and chaffed legs, which is the rubbing of skin together between the legs. Thank you.
Just in case you didn't know.
Thank you so much for telling us that. What's your worst Australian animal fear, Matt?
Spider. Because
I can say that.
I don't know. I've never been, so I just assume that the snakes, you've probably got some sort of idea that they're going to be around, so like in the long grass and that kind of stuff. Whereas spiders, they hide under the toilet seat and that kind of thing.
Just in your house.
Massive and around.
Gigantic.
It's all right in the UK. If you see a spider, you know it's not going to kill you. It doesn't matter if it lands on your face. But in Australia,
I think it would kill me from a heart attack if it landed on my face.
You've got to be a bit aware of what's going on.
I watched some of the NRL Grand Final when I got back, and I also checked my email. I got one off Ewan, who I was glad to hear from, told him about Irene and my bum lifestyle. Is Irene and the bum lifestyle together in one? Maybe that's why you didn't tell us, because it wasn't a
put it in the wrong hole.
It wasn't a usual losing of the virginity. If the bum lifestyle it is a lifestyle choice. Matt 40 wonders if I'll come back to Sheffield. I said if I'm accepted, faux show. All right, Matt, do you want to take over? It's very perfect because it's called Wilson Architects.
Wilson Architects, yes. Is this somewhere you've applied to? Let's find out. Okay, my legs were pumping lead on this lousy Monday. The hike yesterday took its toll. I've been walking around like I shit my pants because of the traffic, shuffling along like a gimp, bruised muscles, and stepping oddly because of the blistered feet. I don't feel any better about the hike in general. Finally, I go down to doing some design work for Barry and Bronwyn's new place. I figured I'd best get the ball rolling since they're back from America already. I had lunch, then after reading through the papers and some sort of Bill Bryson book, I felt really tired and drowsed to some music. I had to be careful not to fall asleep as I needed to get along to the interview meeting. I was grouchy as fuck when I left the house and thoroughly tired and pissed off when I finally got to the practice. The lady at the desk looked at me as if I was phony and could barely understand me. The guy I eventually talked to didn't seem like much of a landscaper, but he must feel like a small part in an architect's office, as Wilson's primarily is. He was, however, quite useless anyway.
So you've rocked up in a terrible mood and you're berating all the people there. I feel like he definitely got this job, but let's see.
He didn't speak often and didn't appreciate how much trouble it was for me to bring my shit down for him to simply love a look at. What else is he going to do? Like copy it?
That was a bit sad, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't sad. It was just, it's your own fault. You've overtired yourself. You haven't prepared for the interview. You were falling asleep, so you'll have been groggy, and then you've got all pissed off, and you've got pissed off with every single person you've met on the way. Receptionist didn't smile enough. The guy that was there didn't go, oh, wow, let's read this together page by page.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for bringing everything down. I know it must have been a colossal effort on your part. Next day, ultrasound at Chermside. I had to go for my ultrasound today. I arranged to go to Chermside, but did not anticipate such difficulties in getting to and from there.
Uh-oh, not again.
Sounds like a running theme. The appointment was an early one, but since I'd never been before, I left myself what I thought was plenty of time. I had the transport link number and road directory, which both proved at best unusable.
I can just imagine you rocking up with a giant backpack and this giant thick yellow page. It's like in the back, and you've got like post-it notes in it so you know which page to turn to. Okay, right, this is the end of the map. Need to go to page 74. That will have pissed you off as well.
Oh, for sure. So I'm on the way to the bus stop where the elusive 325 would stop. In a frustrated, sweaty, panting state, I got to the stop with 2 minutes to spare. 2 minutes in which to cool down enough not to want to smash the faces in of anyone or anything to do with the public bus services. I boarded the 325. Jesus, it's drawn out. And it took me to Chermside. Just in case anyone didn't know, I'm going to Chermside.
You go for an ultrasound?
Apparently.
Oh, nice. Thanks for letting us know.
It went past the Prince Charles Hospital where I used to swim as a wee bop. Talking of such childish anecdotes, this morning I saw a terrific kids cartoon called Peppa Pig. Really, Mark? And it's not even Peppa Pig, it's Pippa. Pippa Pig.
You've written Pippa Pig.
Maybe it's like, what are those things called? Mandela effects. Maybe it did used to be Pippa Pig back in the early 2000s.
Possibly. Crudely yet delightfully animated. I actually talk about it as well. Crudely yet delightfully animated Pippa Pig talks with a block nose and oink snorts after everything. She says very funny stuff. Yes, the ultrasound. I was late. There's a shocker. I was late, but there was a queue of people anyway. The cold gel used to conduct the ultrasound waves makes you jump at first. The radiologist.
Oh, don't touch me down there. I've only been touched once there before, and I'm not going to talk about it.
The radiologist cottoned onto this and brought in some warm gel. so not to entertain any more flinches, as though I was being ab-raped.
She did not use warm gel. They used cold gel on everyone. They just warmed up the stuff on your stomach, you fool.
I don't know the results, but once Dad pays the bill and Bert gets the details, I will know. And I had to wait for an hour for the bus back, so I looked through the road directory for fun. Rock and roll.
Oh, the days before we had phones and on-demand entertainment. Today I didn't do much, but it was mainly spent waiting for Irene and whatever she had planned. So it became all the more interesting when she phoned and told me she would be down about 5 with a notorious friend of hers, Shane. She warned me not to expect the usual, he is gay. It became apparent that this is what... I'm enjoying where this is going. It became apparent that this is what he thrives on, the unusual. As a drag queen on occasions, you can imagine the way in which he flaunts himself. This is getting into some terrible territory, the way you're describing this. It's outrageous. I know. I'm concerned about what's going to come out of here. It's outrageous, and that's what makes it hilarious. But at the same time, it's safe in the knowledge he is the way he is. When I greeted Irene, he made some good-natured anti-hetero remark, and that paved the way. Having heard his stories, however, I would not be surprised if he was down about his homo tendencies.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, God. His ex, Greg, stabbed him and threw him out of a second-story window on separate occasions.
See? Gay lifestyle. It's just too rough.
Clearly. What a psycho. Anyway, we drove to Irene's other best friend, Sarah's, and headed out for drinks. Shane flashed the cash, paying for everyone's meal, which was bloody nice. Oh, there you go. You said something nice about someone.
Yeah.
First time in 3 days. Then we drove over to the coffee club he manages and his parents own, where we indulged with free drinks. It was a cool evening, but got cooler. Oh, here we go. Irene invited me back to her new place at the Gold Coast. I happily obliged. I appreciate more now, her coming up to Brisbane on all these occasions. Some of her friends were at hers, mainly work colleagues. This was more uncomfortable as they were a bit stoned and the ringleader, the notorious Chippy, was in this macho discussion with the others. Then we went to bed, but didn't sleep much. Again, all of this description about your night, and all I get about the evening is we didn't sleep much.
You just want the field to
Because you
got
had
two
sex
notorious
1.5
friends.
times. Well, I reckon if didn't sleep much.
It's being a bit subtle, you know. We might get to some details.
We're not going to get to details.
Right, Thursday 7th. Today was pretty sweet. We didn't get up for a bit. Tired, I guess. Wonder why. Hunger cold after a while, so we thought we'd get some scran and go to the beach. We went to buy a Shuck, a little exclusive restaurant Irene works in. It's much as you'd expect a kitchen to be in a busy upper class stoop. The place didn't appear busy, but I was assured that nearer lunchtime till close it would be booming. I saw Chippy, hair lubed back, and other members of the staff. Then we headed for Red Rooster and picked up the grease and made for the sand. It was a very warm day, but the beach was quiet enough. We caught the sun for a bit, but I was keen to go for a swim. It was really choppy and there was a powerful longshore drift. Irene came in after initially insisting the water was too cold. She was right. It was bloody freezing, but with the temperature and the beach at over 30, I didn't give a toss. Then we trundled back to the car. I always feel a great deal less gracious walking back up these beaches. I'm wet like I pissed myself. Sand sticking to my feet and legs like a pet. And I struggle to trundle up what feels like a mountain of June. Me and Irene love loads of the same films, and she's cool as fuck for buying Snatch, Human Traffic, and Fight Club. Oh, classic.
Yeah, because you've got no
One
money,
win.
so she has to buy everything.
Good films, though.
Such a leech.
I don't think I've ever seen Snatch. I believe it's so good. What can I say? The girl has taste. We went to is that Fam's?
Pam's.
Pam's, and shifted a whole load of gear to Irene's, all spare furniture and stuff. Pam and Glenn came over to for an Irene steak special, and they left. After they left, Ray, Betsy, and this hippie woman watched DVDs with us while we all got stoned. Very good. So who's this hippie woman? That's the last time.
Oh no, I probably didn't know her name. And that was just she probably looked like a hippie.
It's not like Mark to make snap judgments about people.
No.
She's probably just wearing a floral dress. Or
Yeah, she probably was.
hippie. Okay, this one's going to be a bit cringe. You can tell already. Me, myself, and Irene. Last night was hot.
Ooh, I wonder if you mean like 30 degrees hot or sexy hot.
I'm not into bragging
Oh my God, here we go.
about sexual episodes,
For the third time, you've had sex 3 times.
but I'm pretty certain I shagged the pants off Irene. Oh, yeah.
You definitely didn't.
There was one little problem, though. Me. For all she had a great time, and she insisted she did, she became exhausted too soon. For me to release my workforce. You know what I mean? No idea, Mark. What are you alluding to?
She was not too tired because you were too good. She said she was tired because you were probably doing an in-betweeners and like rubbing it between her legs rather than in her actual hole. And she's like, oh, I'm so tired. I just need to go to sleep now. Can you please get off me?
I had a fantastic night. Regardless, Irene lay there exhausted.
No, she didn't.
I hopped in the shower
She
and
closed
was
her eyes and hoped
refreshed.
she would go away. Was she making snoring as well?
When she came out, having got ready, she looked hot. She had this pink oriental figure-hugging top. We drove up to the city. On the way, she said she was going to tell her mum, Laurie, about us. Alan knows, Pam knows, but Laurie is a different kettle of mum, apparently. Okay, I've never heard that one. She'll tell everyone, according to Irene. Irene is a fucking maniac driver. When we got to Brisbane, having nearly smashed into the side of another vehicle, Irene dropped me right by Burke's building, Alexandra House. There the ultrasound results were. Dad had been to the practice to pay the invoice. Results were clear, no obstructions, no stones. A mild passing episode was the explanation. I got home but wasted time checking out Wilston Athletics Club. I left details with a Portuguese rabble with the coach Carlos. Irene rang me to see about my results. She likes me. I told Mum.
It's all getting official.
A bit cringe. Just what I like.
I mean, I think my favorite sentence from that was, she became exhausted too soon for me to release my workforce.
Too exhausted.
50 Shades of Grey right there.
Yes, I mean, to be fair, 50 Shades of Grey is one of the worst written books I've ever read. So this would actually probably quite fit
So it'll probably
quite well.
probably definitely become a film one day.
Oh, for sure. I'm not quite sure who's going to play you and who's going to play Irene.
Not me. I've already failed one audition to be myself.
You have indeed. I feel like it's going to be filmed like The Room, and the sex scenes like, you're doing it wrong. That's not the right hole. Okay, Saturday. The past few days have been great. I wonder why. You had sex for the third and fourth time.
And she was exhausted.
So that's how good you are.
I exhausted her.
3 minutes in heaven is just far too much for any woman to handle. But now I'm back home and it's all a bit quiet again. I would normally look forwards to Saturday, plural, nice, but only after an uneventful week. And this was anything but that. I don't know how you get so many adventures when you literally don't have even a dollar to your name.
No, I'm getting quite a bit paid for. Dad's paying for the medical stuff.
It's because you're so good in bed that Irene is quite happy to support your lifestyle just so that she gets that excitement every weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, if we weren't married, I'd pay for it.
I don't know what to say that.
I went to the shops in the morning with Dad for the food shopping. I don't think I got as much stuff as I normally do. Have I been eating less? Dad thinks I look slimmer. I watched sport on TV all afternoon and was not interested in going to Dad's choir performance at New Farm. When he came back from the performance, he had a nosebleed. He must have sang too hard. Imagine singing that hard to get a nosebleed because you went that into singing at a choir performance. I may have failed to mention it thus far, but Mum and Michelle now know about me and Irene. Are you and Irene together?
Yeah, I've not told you about it.
You have not mentioned that in this book.
I can't even think straight right now. I've got money problems. I've got Dad being a fuck again. I got Mum banging on at me because I can't get a job. It's all fucking blowing up in my face. I don't know where I want to live. I don't know what I want to do anymore. It's crazy. Mum tells me Bill Gates is number 2. Passed through Phil's office the other day. 7th richest man in the world. He's brushing shoulders with the likes of this guy, and I'm fucking sweating over a job at a corner shop. I mean, God, where the hell do I fit in the grand fucking scheme of things? I saw this ad on the net for a job way up the coast in the landscape, but I'm with Irene now, so that's out of the window. But it got me thinking, if I could get a job on the Gold Coast in landscape, that would be sweet. I could be with Irene and have a great time working and playing. I could get away from Dad, and I would rather do that than for some disgusting confrontation to occur that would ultimately see a parting of ways. I don't really appear to be in Brisbane for any reason right now. It's ridiculous. I have a degree now, and it's not selling me a thing.
Welcome to the experience of everyone that's done a degree.
Yep.
Firstly, you've had sex with Irene 3, maybe 4 times, and you're already like considering not going for jobs.
No, that's like well north though.
Yes, but still, you've had sex with her 3 or 4 times, and you're like, no, I could have possibly leave her because we're going to get married and have babies, which did not happen. Spoiler alert: I am not called Irene.
Yeah, but like, I'm getting it for the first time, so why would I give that up? That's the only thing.
Because you have no money.
I know, but that's like the only good thing that's going on at the moment.
But you have no money.
Yeah, but there might be other jobs.
Living in one of the most like expensive countries in the world.
I was getting everything paid for, so.
Yeah, but you don't like getting everything paid for because your dad gets to choose what he spends his money on, and you are not happy with what he's choosing to spend his money on.
Dunlops.
Because it's not exactly.
Tuna and pasta. Not in pasta.
Because you want it to be like an 80-20 split, like with the 80 being with you, and he's probably doing the other way around.
Whilst yesterday was quite a turd, today showed that even though many things aren't going my way, I can always count on Irene to make me feel a bit better.
Irene.
Even though it took her longer to get up than I'd anticipated, it was still great.
She's trying to wait for you to leave. She wants to have sex with you again. Irene, it's time to wake up.
No, she's coming up to see me, I think.
Oh, not wake up.
It was still great when she arrived there.
There we go.
We ate the salads I'd made and looked at the options. Just thinking of like this salad, literally just lettuce cut up.
Maybe tomatoes.
We might have seen a film. We might have gone swimming, but in the end, we just lazed on the sofa in our own accord, watching Black Hawk Down. Premature to Irene's arrival, I'd been writing all about the trip to Binnaburra, which Dad had suggested I might do. I tried not to make it sterile. It really doesn't read like a journey, but a series of humorous accounts to the trip. It probably doesn't give much respect to the laws of the club, but that's what makes it fresh, a fresh approach. There was no swimming or movie going. Instead, this evening we went to Pam and Glenn's. Laurie and Alan were there, the first time they'd seen me and Irene as a couple. And earlier today, Dad came home and came across me and Irene on the couch, so I presume he knows now too. There was no awkward feelings in either of these scenarios. Dad was fine, Irene's parents were cool, Emil was fine, and Christy, a friend of Irene's of 8 years, was also present. Then after the olds left, the joints came out, and it was happy days.
I wonder who's paying for your weed? Because you're not.
Not me.
Listen, I don't know how many more times I'm going to stand for it, but the shit Dad does is wearing me down, and I'm on the verge of giving him some real grief. I need to get out of here, and the only way is by getting a job. I'm thinking of just going to the Gold Coast because it's shit here. Up to this point, I have tolerated Dad. I'm sick of being dishonest to myself about the things he does and how he thinks I see him. One thing really bothered me today, amongst other incidents. He wondered if I wanted to get a movie out. Okay. Then when we're in there, he immediately settles for 2 DVDs he'd previously seen on a shelf and told me about them. Oh, have you seen these? You've seen most of them. Do I get a say? Not really.
Oh, there were a couple of DVDs.
I felt angry when I was reading that.
Yeah. I'm just looking for an excuse to get out.
On Sunday this morning, I was so disinterested in talking to Dad, I stayed in bed and continued to read the script to the Men Behaving Badly series.
That was funny.
Reading the script.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming.
You could just watch it on TV.
No, didn't have Netflix then, like.
Oh, I guess not. It's so darn hilarious. I started typing up some of the Binnaburra walk review, which I think would be good to put in the handout they do. That would be a good start to publishing my writing, and I don't have to pay. Tee-hee. When do you have to pay to get your writing published?
When you're a shit writer.
Yes, good point. I went down to watch Dad sing in his choir this afternoon. He was worried about it before we left the house. The persistent clicking of fingers and reinforcement of our departure time was a dead giveaway. He asked me to record the concert on a dictaphone. So not only did I hear it live, but all the way to Granny's and at Granny's. So what was initially absorbing enough soon became irritating. Dad loved it and lapped up the praise, but further sought the blessings of Granny and Grandpa, as though he'd just tied his first shoelace.
Victoria Park Function Centre interview.
Oh, there we
I had
go.
a positive feeling about today. Everything seemed electrified and I was on the exact wavelength I needed to be on. There hasn't been a wetter day since I arrived. Okay. But I was mysteriously undisturbed by nature's attempt to cause me 100% saturation pre-interview. It may have been different had I not been successful, but that's not how it went. And it was about halfway through the journey when the heavens opened. Undeterred by my pant-wetting appearance, I marched right up to the building and entered into the dryness. It is a very pleasant building and is just as impressive on the inside. I found my way to an open area with expansive views of the neighbouring golf course. This is where the few other applicants were waiting in silence, scribbling away on info sheets. I began filling one in, but I didn't have much to do because I brought my resume. The rain got heavier and I was glad to be inside. When the interviewer came along, I had dried slightly and less resembled a weak-blooded caterpillar. It was really easy going. I sounded more confident than the interviewer. I've become a real class act when it comes to talking up or bullshitting over my status. Of course, I do have to lie when it comes to admitting whether or not I'm still into landscape or not. I pressed him for an answer, and he'll take me on. This evening, Dad and I watched Intolerable Cruelty, and I don't think I've heard Dad laugh so much. I assume this was a film and not just someone being cruel to like a passing dog or something.
Well, I just caught another cockroach. Jesus.
I love how you spelled cockroach. with an A in it.
Cockroach. A cockroach. And 2 days running, and they're not little
And the
babies
wrong
either.
there again. There has not been a single correct there in this entire diary.
Ever.
Ever.
I haven't killed one yet. It's under the lid of the deodorant. I trapped it awaiting execution at 0900 hours Wednesday morning. I was
Maybe
at
this is
Granny's
that intolerable cruelty we were hearing about.
Take that, cockroach. I didn't do much through the day, cleaning mainly, but I got a call off Irene.
No, you didn't.
She says Alan and Laurie are treating us to dinner, which is awesome. I reckon I'll stay at Irene's on Wednesday and Thursday as she's off work. It might become difficult to see her as much if I get this job. Not that I see her enough as it is. We'll work something out. Dad knows I'm going away for a few days and he's helping me with the money. Hopefully I won't have to ask for any more money once the job kicks in. I can't seem to get a hold of Mum on the phone and I haven't had any computer access to keep a tab of my emails.
Because your dad rudely keeps keeping it at work. You could go to a library.
I think that's what I ended up doing.
Up until Irene's arrival this evening, I had very little to occupy myself with. All the normal things, listening to music, playing Game Boy, and reading suddenly all became incredibly unabsorbing. Even the TV was dull. I've been trying to contact Irene all day. I didn't know when she planned on picking me up. She eventually called and arrived close to the time Dad normally gets back. I couldn't be bothered locking the house up, so delayed until he did get back. That is so lazy. You can't be bothered putting a key in the door and locking it. So you just like hung around until he got back so you wouldn't have to.
That doesn't make any sense.
That is ultimate. That is the ultimate in lazy.
I probably didn't know like where everything was. But surely I'd be like motivated to lock up.
You have been there for like 3 months. You knew exactly how to lock the house up.
It's pretty bizarre. Yeah.
Lazy is what it is. He really hasn't asked any questions about me and Irene, but I can only assume he knows what's going on. We drove down to Alan's accountancy office over the car park from the restaurant where we were going to, of Thai origin. We all met inside the office, including Glenn and Pam, then headed over to the car park for some Thai. I wasn't entirely without skepticism to whether I would like Thai, but I was pleasantly surprised. Is this the first time you've tried Thai?
I guess so.
2004?
Yeah.
We got a variety of dishes, including a great curry dish, and even had dessert. I had mango ice cream and my first cappuccino. This shocked everyone.
First cappuccino, first Thai.
They wondered how I could never have had one before. Alan paid for the meal, which was nice. I feel like a cheap bastard amongst a generous crowd. Back at Irene's, no one was home, so we watched a cheesy manga about Somalis, men made of rock and bees. To be fair, though, it must be very, very difficult to not have any money and be relying on people to go out and do stuff. Because on one hand,
it's amazing.
On one hand, you should just stay home and not do anything. But on the other hand, if people are being generous, and you always expect that you'll be able to pay them back. I
don't know what I'm going to these things. What's the mindset that I'm in? What happens if they turn around and say, "Oh, you've got to pay"?
You'd have to call your dad and he'd have to pay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like.
Sorry, can I ask? Alan and Pam, who are they?
Alan and Laurie, Irene's parents, and Pam is Irene's sister.
Right. Okay.
And Glenn is Pam's boyfriend at the time.
Irene and I instead took the Resident Evil 2 at a nearby cinema. It was better than the first, which Irene hadn't seen, but I may get her that for her birthday. That and Train Spotting and a dragon. A dragon?
A dragon. Behold, a dragon.
Right. Well, you got to get one of those. We're tired, so slept on the couch. I had deteriorated to a dysfunctional mess by this stage. I still got the train home, though, which was a first from the Gold Coast to Brisbane. Finally got home where I fell into a deep sleep. Maybe you've got Lyme's disease from that tick you had in the week.
It's really it must be really awkward. And then you've gone to the cinema and she's obviously had to buy your tickets.
Yeah.
And she's paying for petrol and Like, I would love to know how these conversations go.
This is, I don't know if I've actually said, like, I don't have a dime to my name. I'm pretty
you
sure.
must know, because you don't.
Yeah. Although, I don't know if, hang on.
Unless your dad's
It
giving
looks
you
like I'm starting a job, so at least I'm going to get some money. If I hadn't started going out with it, I would have been a pretty quiet few weeks.
Yeah, because everything that you've
nothing.
done recently has been with her,
Yeah.
and she's footed the bill.
Very, very generous.
What's she getting? Like, you must be getting spends off your dad. Like, he must be giving you like $50 a week or something.
I don't know. I think Grandpa would occasionally give me like $50.
Yeah.
But just desperation. Like, I'm trying to get work.
Yeah.
And it's just doesn't seem to be happening. I felt better this morning, though. I still felt a bit dizzy and with a sore throat, which persisted. There was no reason to get up, and when I did, I was disappointed to find that Dad had chowed down most of the apricot OTs.
How dare he eat his own food that he has paid for in his house?
Jeez. I introduced them to him, I suppose. Anything must appear Moorish when you've been eating boring bastard meals for as many of the recent years as he has. I watched Power of Attorney and chowed the remaining 5 apricot OTs, topped up with the dregs of Sustain, another reasonable cereal. I'm not sure how I came to the decision, but because I had no money left to develop a film, I spent it all on food and alcohol. I decided to draw a picture of a dog. It was a cartoon dog, like the one on Tom and Jerry. Then I put a lizard on its head and a hedgehog next to its foot. They appeared to be quite terrifying. Something to their right, but we'll never know. The paper space ran out. I lost interest after a while and decided to call the function centre to see if I got the job. I had been notified by email, but because I had no access recently, I never knew. Then this evening, when I asked Dad, he said, okay. Dinner and his singing done. I asked him again and he says, no, I'm going to bed. Twat.
I've been doing a lot of thinking, trying to justify why I should continue living with Dad, because you have no money and nowhere to go.
Yeah.
I was grossly disappointed in my conclusion to find that it was no more than financial support, the roof over my head, and convenient means of transport. At my age, I am surely able to support myself in these areas. I start my new job on Wednesday. That is a start. From then, I don't know what will happen. Dad finished his tax return papers and I waited to use the internet. I hadn't used it so long and there was 30 in the inbox and over 1,000 spam. It just shows how unpopular you are. Only 1,000 after like 5 weeks.
Probably all like from the porn virus.
Yeah, the porn virus. Would you do you remember like in the early 2000s when the internet was first out and they would have these chain emails that would come and it's like, if you don't pass on this email, then this like doll is going to come to your house and cut your eyes out. And I always used to be terrified of them. I remember I used to get
I ever got that one.
Oh, do you not remember those chain emails though? Like there was so many going around and it's like you had to send it on to like 10 of your friends within half an hour or something awful would happen. And because everyone thought like the internet was like voodoo at the time, we all believed it.
I remember the first email I got that was one of those scam ones where they said, you are in line to inherit, XXX amount of dollars. Just give us your bank details or something. Yeah. And it was so like obviously a scam even at that stage, but they still circulate now.
I am an African prince and I need help transferring my money into the UK. So I'm going to send you $30 billion and you can keep one of them. That kind of thing.
They're still sending them though, so people must be falling for them. Like there's so many scams now which are so much more sophisticated. Like, I think the Amazon, I nearly got caught at once with like an Amazon or a PayPal, like, your package has been delayed or whatever. Clicking on that, but they have them like from the banks now, from the post office. Like
there was a really good one that I got scammed by when I was at uni. Somebody had replicated the NatWest bank page.
Yeah, that's what they do.
And they got my details then, so I think I had to change or get new cards sent out or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, emails. The most interesting was from the new employer. Job training is on Wednesday morning and my first shift is on Saturday night. I guess I'll find out exactly what it entails shortly. We drove past Keanu Road on the way to Redcliffe, still all there, but still overgrown and crappy.
Yesterday, Dad took an interest in my opinions on the design of his back garden. I got the general idea on what he wanted, despite his reluctance to write any of his ideas down. Basically, he wants a staggered, subdivided cosmopolitan feel with low maintenance design. I became
Dad did not
interested.
say those words.
Copy straight out of the textbook there, Mark. Well done.
Exactly.
I became interested, and today I was keen to have another look around his garden. It's very chaotic at the moment. One of the ideas I suggested to him was to create an inviting alleyway down this disused side of the home. I didn't remember the 5 is that poplar
Palm.
trees? That's a palm trees. Oh yeah, we don't have palm trees in Chorley. That's located at the top of there, but I'd be less inclined to just destroy them.
Sorry, Matt, can we just stop? Because he actually used the correct there on October the 25th, 2004. For the first time ever, you've used the correct there. Can we just...
I need to put that on my CV.
I am so impressed by that. It's taken a long time, but we're finally there.
Amazing.
Please continue.
Located at the top of there, but I'd be less inclined to just destroy them. I think he liked the alleyway idea, which was encouraging, but do I really have the enthusiasm for another landscape project at the moment? I haven't done anything on Barry and Bromwell's design for ages, and they've moved into the new place already. I'd like to say I'd done some today, but I had about as much focus as Mr. Magoo. I sat on the sofa and ate crap from the word go, leaving a messy trail of wrappers and evidence of excessive flatulence. That's one of the luxuries of unemployed house sitting. So he's sitting naked on the couch reading Men Behaving Badly, which is exactly what I've become accustomed to. This diary entry
sitting naked on the couch, leaving evidence of flatulence. Are you leaving skid marks?
Shit, another sofa.
Yeah. This diary entry has rapidly deteriorated from ambitious designer to gluttonous sloth, captivating 2 of my most prominent characteristics. Would I improve things if I said I'd went for a jog and had a salad for lunch? Well, I did, honest. This evening, I watched some stylish new shows on TV. Queer Eye for the Straight Guy and Sex in the City have really grown on me. It's a shame that at least one of them is an endangered species. Which
no,
one?
Matt,
the gays or Sarah Jessica Parker?
Species.
It's an endangered species, not species.
Which one you think was endangered?
That's pretty funny.
Aren't they both still going, those TV shows?
Yes, they are. And Queer Eye for the Straight Guy's got like a whole new cast, and Sex in the City has had 2 movies and is now doing like Sex in the City in the 50s.
Good grief.
So
which
neither
one was the
is
endangered species, Mark? Were you writing off the gays or Sarah Jessica Parker?
I don't even know what I mean by that.
Well, neither is an endangered species because they both survived.
They did.
Maybe they started some kind of breeding program.
They breed them out.
Yeah.
Aaron called me when I was applying my shaving foam, and it was difficult to talk without getting foam everywhere. She said the get together is on Sunday instead of Saturday, which is better because I'll be able to drink and not have to look at my watch the whole time. Boy, oh boy, it was hot jogging this evening. It didn't seem to affect Dad at all, but I was perspiring like Hell's Kitchen. I would have gone for a swim if I had money, but a recent plea to Mum probably hasn't been answered yet. First day at work tomorrow, early starts, 9 a.m.
So early.
I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. Didn't deter me from watching Tuesday night telly, Raymond OC, Rove. It's all good. The OC.
The OC. I got up much earlier than normal for this training session at my new job. I had to get the bus over, could have done with a lift from Dad. The training session went smoothly. I'm one of 3 lads and there's about 10 birds. One of them is pure geek, another is over 50, I'd say, and the rest look younger than me. We all learned how to carry stuff right, how to serve drinks, and all the other waitering shit.
A waiter, that's it.
Yes. I mean, you sound like you're really into it and you know all the lingo. I don't fear dropping shit on people. It's the abusive drunks that get under my skin. That done, I went to pick up my documents from Terrain, which were accompanied by a rejection letter for the job I'd applied for. I also browed around Brunswick Street whilst there. I saw an ANZ and sought an overdraft. You can't get an overdraft in Australia when you've got like $3,000 of overdraft in the UK that you're not paying off and you don't have a job.
They won't know that. And I don't know.
Yes, they do know that, which they refuse due to the lack of pay slips to prove my income. They're not just.
Yeah, but they're not seeing what I don't have.
Why would I request an overdraft with income?
People get paid can't possibly be before.
Yeah, I can't even talk to 22-year-old Jews. It's too much. I'd hope Mum may have received my email plea for money, which she did hours later. Too late to withdraw and get Irene a present. At work, they had a diary to mark the days you need off, so I NA'd next weekend so I can see Irene. When I got home, I peeled my clothes off. Don't wear jeans in the heat. You still didn't learn from that. Remember when we went horse riding in Borneo in like 100-degree heat and you wore jeans? That's a terrible idea. I think you got chafed, which is, when the skin in between your legs rubs together and goes raw. No worries. Later, I received a call off Carlos, the coach. I'd lost hope of a reply, but he invited me this evening to a trial game at Spencer Park. I was pleasantly surprised that a proper game was on the cards, and I started the game up front. I barely got the ball in the first half until I latched onto a loose ball and smacked it into the top right-hand corner. This was the most competitive game I played in a stadium, and I scored. I was stoked. I barely cared. We got a man sent off in the second half and eventually lost 4-2, but it was 1-0 to us at half-time, thanks to me.
I just had an idea about what Irene might love for her birthday. She has mentioned one of Phil's drawings a few times, a blue dragon draped around a woman. I'm thinking that if I can get hold of that, I could pay to have it blown up and poster size and framed. The problem is I have little over a week to contact Phil and sort it out. Things would be helped a great deal if I knew at what point I'll be getting paid. I'm going to try and get Dad to help me with the new trousers for work, and I have to think about how much taxi fare is going to cost on Saturday night, Sunday morning. I'm feeling pretty worn out today because of the unexpected match last night. I'm still stoked that I scored, and I'd love to do the same tomorrow night. Thankfully, there is a cooler day forecast, so it might be easier for me to manage, whereas last night it was warm and muggy. I didn't read any of the handouts I got from work yet, which includes a form on taxation. I really should get around to doing that, but I can't imagine they'd expect me to know all the info by Saturday. I'm a bit nervous about it, but only because it's new to me. There's no aspect of the job that alarms me. All I can remember from the training session is always approach the person right, and that how to hold plates professionally, which Dad was impressed with when I showed him.
2 matches in 3 days is a killer. Tonight's game was not as eventful for me. We scored no goals, they scored 4. After the game, Carlos offered scant consolation in mentioning they were actually a 4X league team, which I assume is highly competitive. I love playing up front though, making runs and shooting. It didn't really happen today though. On the way back from footy, I withdrew the money Mum had sent through. The thing is, it's not really a load off my mind. Now I have to worry about how to spend it wisely. And now I'm going to have to sort out work trousers with a wedge of that money because Dad's only given me $10.
That was kind of him.
Oh, I might not have enough. Yeah, right. Dad, not enough. Only enough to buy new microwave, DVD players, and contemplating house extensions. Just out of curiosity, why is he extending the house? No one is ever there.
I had to start work at 6, but got there around 5 because the bus service is cack. I read my book until the others arrived. I was nervous when we were handing out drinks and more so when we served the entree. I seemed to get a hang of it. Most of the staff are nice, but the chef was mean to me. He told me to shut up. That's mean.
Yeah, they were all pretty wired. I think I was saying something about one of the dishes and he overheard. Mm-hmm. So I probably did it to myself.
I don't know why. Maybe because I was talking or smiling, or maybe he's an asshole. Later, it was confirmed he has a superiority complex with wait staff. It was a long night, but I never looked at my watch because I was so busy. We were allowed some leftovers at the break. I just imagine you clearing the tables and there's some like food left on it. Ooh, I can eat that chicken.
Just pouring gravy into my pockets.
I won. I was shattered. My back ached. I did manage to get a lift home off a young Somerset lass, right? Sunday. I think I woke up in much the same stance as I went to sleep in. At least my back is no longer sore. Dad's alarm woke me. Why set it up at all? He knew I came in late. Irene called me before I was even up. She said they'd arrive to pick me up in 40 minutes. Shit. Best get ready then. Alan brought his Merc, and everyone came up. He drove us to Diane's place way up the coast. Once there, I met Ken, Jeffrey, and Sophie, who I'd not seen in a long time. Diane was charismatic as ever, and I'd met Scott, who I'd not seen or met before, or seen with Anna since their wedding photos. Irene, Pam, Jeff, and I went to local shops for some swimmers. I got some boardies at last and tested them immediately. We all went to the beach about 2 minutes from Diane's house. It all ended abruptly, and there was not enough reuniting. It was also frustrating being the only time in a week I would see Irene. I look forwards, again, plural, to her birthday next weekend. I got back in time to go to Granny and Grandpa's. Grandpa showed me a scar of where he'd been bitten by a monkey when he was in South Africa. What a way to end the month.
That's brilliant.
What a way to end the month. My goodness.
Started with reunions, ended with reunions.
It did.
And a monkey bite.
And we got some more information on your sexual prowess, which sounds like a good 10 out of 10. You keep exhausting your woman.
I've exhausted her at least twice this month.
At least. She's been so tired, she's had to sleep in late.
Yeah. But on a serious note, absolutely freeloading my way through this.
So much. And I imagine that you are getting paid a really, really shit wage at this waiter gig.
Well, I've only done like one shift.
Yeah. It was 6 hours. You might get $100.
Yeah. But already, like, how many jobs have I applied for and then had no luck with? Like, I didn't get that one at Terrain, which I think was a shame. Didn't go well at Wilson Architects. There was the corner shop.
The corner shop that you dropped off a resume for. Hello, sir. I'd like to be your new newspaper boy.
Newspaper bitch.
Here is my resume with my last 10 years work experience. As you will see, it was very varied.
Well, I used to be a paper boy, so, you know, they should have given me it.
I think they should.
Yeah, you worked in the co-op, didn't you, in Sheffield? And that was like a glorified corner shop, wasn't it?
Oh, those were like action-packed days. I remember chasing down criminals.
Yeah, you should have put that in your resume.
How funny was it that I tried to become a model?
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh my God, that's crazy. Didn't you pay like $100 or something for pictures?
That's what they wanted, but I didn't put the money forward in the end because I saw how ridiculous it was and how ridiculous I was.
Did you find a mirror?
Did I find a mirror? That's pretty scathing. They said all shapes and sizes, Jess.
We did.
And if I do recall, you wanted to be a model at one point too.
I was also scammed.
Do you have any stories like this, Matt? Did you want to become a model at any point?
I've never wanted to be a model, but I did end up having my picture taken for a sales marketing brochure that the company I was working for were putting forward. It never saw the light of day because probably once the MD got hold of it, he said, "It looks like we're a bunch of 5-year-olds," and threw it away. And it never came out. So yeah, that was. But they did manage to get hold of a couple of the prints and sent them out to us. So I've seen a couple of those. But yeah, that was my modelling days were very short-lived and quite unexpected.
I've actually been in a TV advert.
Yeah?
Yeah, for baked bean pizza. Heinz released like frozen mini pizzas that had baked beans and chips on them. And me and my sister were sat at this table. I remember being in this house and we were sat at a table and I had to eat about 8 of these pizzas and I felt physically sick by the end of it because we just kept retaking and retaking.
Wasn't there another professional photo that was taken of you, your sister, your mum and your dad?
That was for pensions.
Yeah.
We're in a pension booklet. My dad was called Paul, my mum was called Diane. And my dad was sat on a rock doing his James Brown smile, and we were in the background laughing. And I was also on a billboard for Uni SA. So technically, I'm the most modelly model out of the three of us. Thank you.
Well done.
Well, it's not for lack of trying.
It's not. That's
and on that note, thanks for your appearance on the podcast.
You're very welcome. I'm not quite sure who's going to listen to this one, but if I'm already on it,
our number one fan can't listen. Who else is going to listen?
I'll listen again anyway, just see how I come out in the edit.
And that is the end of the episode. If you know anyone else with ears or eyes, anyone at all capable of communication, be it through interpretive dance or by other means, spread the badly written word. If you don't know anyone else, put some pants on, go outside, and before they can run away, tell them to click like, subscribe, and follow Badly Written Boy. We thank our dedicated listener base. Thanks, Matt.